Now I'm going to transition into what I've talked about every year, which are the 4 pillars that I believe make a strong community. And those 4 pillars are the economy, education, neighborhoods, the community, and safety. The first one we're going to talk about is the economy. Many people believe that the economy is the most important thing that you can do to affect your community. Well, how do you measure your economic situation? Well, one of the first indicators you look at is your unemployment rate. And so we've charted our unemployment rate from the peak of the recession to today, or till the beginning of this year. And you can see a steady decline, where it peaked out at nearly 15%, and now we're under 8%. That's a very, very good path to be on, and we're very excited for the city of Canton because we know that number is going to continue to head in that direction with what's going on. So we've been very, very fortunate, and clearly the local economy is improving. But another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this line compared to the state of Ohio's line during the same time period. And one of the things you'll notice here is the gap between the city and the state was always very large. And this gap is getting closer and closer as we get down the path here to today. Which means the city of Canton economy is actually recovering at a faster pace than the state of Ohio's is. And we're hoping to actually have that blue line cross over and actually be in a position where we're actually stronger than the state of Ohio in our overall unemployment rates. So again, more good news for the city of Canton. Why is that happening? Well, we mentioned some of the individuals here representing some of these companies, but the core companies, or many of the core companies in our city, like Timken Company, Altman, the Hall of Fame, Malone, Marathon, Gervasi, Mercy, these companies in the last 3, 4, 5 years collectively have invested over $1 billion into their organizations in the city of Canton. $1 billion of upgrades, remodels, and add-ons. Think about that. $1 billion from a handful of companies investing in our community. That's where a lot of our jobs have come from. And not only that, but these companies, the Akron-Canton Airport, Stark State, Baker Hughes, Chesapeake, Stark State, and the Timken Company, as I mentioned them again, they have invested hundreds of millions of more dollars in the Canton region. And that matters because when these things are happening in the Canton region, City of Canton employees get those jobs too. Go back to that for a second. And to give you an idea of why the regional stuff is so important, if you all remember several years ago when the Hoover Company shut down, they were in North Canton. But there were hundreds of citizens of Canton who worked there and lost their jobs. And so the impact from a business outside of the city walls going up or down directly impacts what happens in the city of Canton. So regionalism absolutely matters. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. But speaking of our regional partners, we have a partnership with Jackson Township that is proving to be beneficial to both the township and the city, helping us collectively market our region to bring new businesses and new jobs to town. And that model is being used now as we're having conversations with Plain Township, which we believe that will expand to Plain Township, and we're looking at other surrounding communities to continue with this regional approach. And speaking of regional, I want to mention the Canton Regional Chamber of Commerce one more time. Again, we have representatives from the regional here, regional chamber here, but the Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Canton Regional Chamber of Commerce, has been such a magnificent partner for the city of Canton. We have worked closely with them on nearly a daily basis, and I want to thank them again for what they do for us, but let me just give you a peek at the impact that they have. They actually partnered for a project at City of Canton, and Chamber of Commerce, and DeHoff partnered to help create an industrial park on the south side of Canton off Faircrest Road 77. And I'm proud to tell you today that we have just placed the 4th business in that industrial park. It's I Squared Our Power, adding another 26,000 foot facility down there. And collectively with I Squared Our Power, GE Capital, Old Dominion Freight Line, and Medline, who have been there for the past few years, or the last 2 or 3 years, these companies will all come to town. Collectively, there's 170 new jobs at that industrial park that would not have been here had it not been for the Chamber and their investment and commitment to the City of Canton. And the Chamber does so much more, but that's all the time I'm giving them. Other partners we have is Team NEO. Team NEO is Northeast Ohio. It's a regional development organization that's a branch of Jobs Ohio from the state's economic development arm. We work very closely with Team NEO. In fact, last month we've worked with them, and a company called Ambiflex last month purchased a building off Raff Road in the city of Canton and is bringing 25 jobs into our city. That's 25 new jobs that we didn't have because of the partnership with Team NEO. And partnership is so important, you can't have too many of them, and this is one that's worked out very well for us. So we're going to applaud 25 more jobs. Does that matter? We've had numerous new companies come to town over the last year or two, and I'll get into some of these, but I'm not going to list them all individually just because we would spend a whole meeting on that alone. But I want to mention Team NEO, though, to give you an idea of what they do. We focus with them on a number of projects, but Team NEO happens to be the organization that gave us the lead to be able to attract a company called VXI, Global Solutions. Many of you might be familiar with that name. We brought VXI Global Solutions here with the assistance of Team NEO and Chamber and Strike Development Board and numerous other partners. But when we brought them here about 2.5 years ago, they promised to bring lots of jobs. Today, VXI has 1,000 employees. Think about that. 1,000 employees that 2.5 years ago didn't exist. And they just announced that they're going to hire 650 more employees this spring, right now. That'll make VXI one of our top 5 employers in the entire city. And they've been here for less than 3 years. That's the type of job attraction we need in our city. I didn't even touch on the oil and gas industry, and there's been lots of articles in the paper recently, so I wasn't going to put a whole lot of information on this, but the repository has indicated that the gas and oil industry here in the Utica region has generated about $18 billion worth of economic impact. $18 billion in economic impact already. And the city of Canton has seen a lot of that. We have dozens and dozens of new companies that are engineers and oil and gas related, and you name it. There are a variety of different types of businesses that are tied to this, and it seems like every time we turn around, there's another one. In fact, this past week, we had a gentleman in my office who just signed a contract. I can't announce the company yet, but it'll be announced soon. But they're bringing another 50 jobs to Canton over the next 3 months. And so that'll be a public announcement.